Have you ever stared at an exam question, knowing it's worth a ton of marks, and just wondered, how do I make sure I get every single one? Well, today, we are going to crack a 4-mark GCSE maths problem right open. We'll use the official examiner's mark scheme as our roadmap to see all the different ways you can get to that perfect answer.
And here it is. This is question 15, pulled straight from the paper. It's a classic geometry problem about the sector of a circle, and it's worth 4 big marks. You know, the kind of question that can seriously boost your final grade.
So here's our plan of attack. First, we'll break down what the question is actually asking. Then, we'll get a peek at the examiner's playbook, the mark scheme, before walking through 2 totally different but equally correct methods to nail all 4 marks.
Okay, let's get into it. Before we even think about solving this, we have to be absolutely clear on what we're working with. What are the key pieces of information the question gives us?
Right, so we've got a sector, basically a slice of pizza. The diagram shows us that the radius, so the distance from the center O out to the edge, is 6 centimeters. We're also told that the crust of our pizza slice, the arc length, is 5 pi centimeters. And our job? Find the area of this slice. Now for the really juicy part. We're going to look at the official mark scheme. This isn't just about finding the right answer. It's about understanding exactly what steps an examiner is looking to reward you for along the way.
You'll see the marks are split into P for process and A for accuracy. This tells you something so important. Showing your method, your thinking, is just as critical as getting the final number right. And that little CO, it means correct answer only. So no marks for a lucky guess if your working out is wrong.
All right, let's jump into the first strategy. This approach is all about finding the angle of the sector first. Once we have that, we can use it to figure out the area. Check this out. The mark scheme is super clear. It says you get P1 for a first step, just like this one. That first process mark is yours just for setting up the equation correctly. It's you showing the examiner, hey, I know the formula for arc length, and I know how to use the numbers I was given. And here's exactly what that looks like. We call our unknown angle x. So we have x over 360. That's the fraction of the circle. We multiply that by the full circumference, which is 2 times pi times the radius of 6. Then we just set it equal to the arc length they gave us, 5 pi. You write this down, and boom, 1 mark is in the bag. Now, this next bit is really interesting. The mark scheme gives a P2, that's 2 whole process marks, for the complete process of solving that equation to find the angle. That really shows you how much they value this step. Let's just follow the algebra. First, we tidy it up. 2 times 6 is 12, so we have 12 pi. Now we want to get x on its own, so we can divide both sides by 12 pi. See how the pi's on the right just cancel out? That leaves us with 5 over 12, and the last step is to multiply by 360.
And that calculation gives us our angle, 150 degrees. This is the key piece of information we needed to unlock the rest of the problem. At this point, we've already secured our first process marks.
Okay, the final process mark depends on what you just did. You have to actually use the angle you just found to set up your area calculation. It shows your work as a logical chain, one step leading to the next.
So this is the final setup for this method. The area of our slice is the fraction of the circle it is, that's 150 over 360, multiplied by the area of the whole circle, which is pi times our radius, 6 squared. Get this line written down, and you have locked in all 3 process marks.
But hang on. What if you looked at this problem and saw a quicker way, a more direct route? Well, let's explore method 2, because the mark scheme loves this way of thinking too.
This second approach is pretty slick. It completely skips finding the angle. Instead, it deals directly with the proportion, the fraction of the circle that our sector represents.
And get this, the mark scheme shows you can jump straight to getting 2 process marks, a P2, just by figuring out this proportion. The examiners see this as a really key mathematical insight.
Here's how it works. We have the arc length, 5 pi. We can calculate the entire circumference of the circle, which is 12 pi, so the proportion is just the part over the whole. The pi's cancel out, and we're left with the simple fraction 5/12.
And you guessed it, just like in the first method, that last process mark comes from using your result, this 5/12 proportion, to correctly set up the calculation for the area. We just take our fraction, 5/12, and multiply it by the total area of the circle. Now, if you look closely, this is the exact same calculation we ended up with in method 1. Why? Because 150 over 360 simplifies down to 5/12. It's 2 different roads that lead to the exact same place.
So both of our methods have brought us right here, to the final calculation. All that's left is to simplify this expression and grab that final accuracy mark.
First things first, 6 squared is 36, so we have 5/12 times 36 pi. Now we can make this much easier. What's 36 divided by 12? It's 3. So our calculation just becomes 5 times 3 chi.
And that leaves us with our final, beautiful, simplified answer, 15 pi. This gets you the final A1 mark for accuracy. But remember, you only get it if your process is correct. That is how you get all 4 marks.
So what's the real key takeaway here from looking at the examiner's playbook? It's this: there's almost always more than one valid way to solve a problem. Whether you found the angle first or you worked directly with the proportion, a logical, clear process is what earns you the marks. The secret to top grades isn't just about knowing the answer, it's about proving, step by step, exactly how you got there.